The video begins by setting a somber tone, introducing a picturesque but remote village, hidden away in a lush valley surrounded by dense forests and towering mountains. The village was a place where time seemed to stand still, with cobblestone streets, quaint cottages, and a deep reliance on faith and tradition. At the heart of this close-knit community stood a modest church, its towering spire visible from every corner of the settlement. Within its walls resided Father Elias, a priest revered not only for his spiritual guidance, but for his profound empathy and wisdom. To the villagers, he wasn't just a man of God. He was a beacon of hope, a source of comfort, and, to some, a mysterious figure with a touch of the divine. Father Elias was no ordinary priest. He was known for his ability to connect with people on a level that often felt supernatural. He could sense their pain, understand their worries, and even offer advice so precise it bordered on prophetic. Many villagers whispered that Father Elias had been chosen by a higher power, gifted with insight beyond human comprehension. Whether through prayer, meditation, or his natural intuition, he had a knack for knowing exactly what troubled a soul, and his reputation extended beyond the village to neighboring communities. One fateful day, Father Elias gathered the congregation for an announcement. He stood at the pulpit, his voice steady but carrying an edge of excitement that was unusual for the reserved priest. He explained that during his years of theological study, he had come across ancient texts, manuscripts, hidden deep in the archives of the church library. These texts, he claimed, described practices and rituals that had been lost to time, methods by which a devout individual could tap into the thoughts of others. It was not mind-reading in the way portrayed in popular stories, but rather a divine connection, a means to truly understand the burdens and struggles of those who sought help. The congregation listened in stunned silence. Some were fascinated, their imaginations ignited by the possibility of such a gift. If Father Elias could truly understand their thoughts, he could offer unprecedented guidance. Others were wary, feeling a vague unease about delving into such unknown territory. Reading another's mind, even for benevolent purposes, felt invasive, unnatural, and possibly dangerous. But Father Elias was insistent. He believed this was his calling, a responsibility placed upon him by God to deepen his understanding and serve his flock better. The initial attempts were simple and voluntary. Villagers who trusted Father Elias and were curious about the process offered themselves as participants. The priest would sit with them in the dim light of his study, surrounded by flickering candles and the scent of incense. He would close his eyes, murmur a prayer, and focus intently. At first, the results were subtle, a vague impression here, an emotional echo there. But over time, his abilities seemed to sharpen. Father Elias began describing specific memories, articulating thoughts and feelings with startling clarity. Those who underwent the process came away awestruck, convinced they had experienced a miracle. Word of Father Elias's gift spread quickly. People from neighboring villages began arriving, seeking his help. Some came out of curiosity, others out of desperation. They brought their deepest fears, unspoken desires, and hidden secrets, trusting the priests to handle their innermost thoughts with care. The church became busier than ever, and for a while, it seemed Father Elias had truly discovered something extraordinary. His sermons grew more passionate, his presence more magnetic, and the community flourished under his guidance. But as weeks turned into months, cracks began to appear. Father Elias, once a figure of serenity, started to show signs of strain. His face grew pale, his eyes haunted by shadows, and he became prone to long silences during conversations. Those closest to him noticed his hesitation, the way he avoided certain topics or stared into the distance as if wrestling with invisible demons. When questioned, he would smile faintly and assure them he was fine, attributing his fatigue to the growing demands of his role. The turning point came during an otherwise ordinary evening service. As the congregation knelt in prayer, a sudden, unearthly scream tore through the silence. Father Elias had fallen to the floor, clutching his head, his face contorted in sheer terror. The sound that escaped his lips was unlike anything anyone had ever heard. Raw, guttural, and filled with a profound sense of dread. He screamed until his voice gave out, collapsing into unconsciousness, as the congregation watched in horror. When he finally awoke hours later, he was a changed man. Gone was the calm and composed priest they had known. In his place was someone plagued by an indescribable fear. Father Elias refused to speak of what had happened or what he had seen, but his behavior grew increasingly erratic. He stopped attempting to read minds and instead locked himself away in his study, poring over the same ancient texts that had once inspired him. The villagers noticed his rapid physical decline. His skin grew sallow, his frame gaunt, and his hands trembled with a nervous energy that never seemed to subside. Rumors began to spread like wildfire. Some villagers believed Father Elias had glimpsed something beyond human comprehension, a truth so overwhelming that it shattered his sanity. Others whispered of darker possibilities, that he had opened a door that was never meant to be unlocked, inviting something malevolent into himself. A few speculated that he had not just read thoughts, but had stumbled into the minds of those harboring unspeakable darkness, their secrets leaving an indelible mark on his soul. The church, once a place of hope and refuge, became a source of unease. Attendance dwindled as villagers grew afraid of what might happen if Father Elias lost control again. His once revered sermons were now disjointed and filled with cryptic warnings about the dangers of seeking knowledge meant for the divine. Some villagers avoided him altogether, their reverence replaced by fear. The video concludes by reflecting on the limits of human understanding and the consequences of crossing boundaries that should remain intact. Father Elias's story serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of hubris, curiosity, and tampering with forces beyond comprehension. It leaves viewers with a haunting question: are there truths so profound and terrible that we are better off never knowing them? The once revered priest's descent into despair stands as a cautionary tale, a stark warning about the price of reaching too far into the unknown.